Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos, and you're watching Spotlight Georgetown. You can find us Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. This is your cable station. You pay for it, so you may as well come down and learn how to use it. You don't need to know what you're doing. They will train you. They have all the equipment you could possibly use. Lots of good gadgets and gizmos for people that are interested in computers and things like that. So come and join us and use your cable process. Now today we're going to be talking to Maggie Von Galen, and she's a new author. So we're going to be talking about her and her family and her books. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice
Thank you
to
for
see you
having me.
here. Now, you live in Georgetown.
I do.
How long have you been in town?
We've been here about 4.5 years.
Why did you choose Georgetown?
Well, we were living in New Hampshire, and my husband was making the 3-hour-a-day commute to Boston, and we decided to move closer. And I sent him on a drive-by of a house, and he got lost and ended up in Georgetown.
Men don't like to stop for directions.
No, and we fell in love with the town.
Perfect.
So,
It's a great town.
It is a great town.
It really is. Now you have family here.
I do. We have 2 boys, 9 and 7, Luke and Dylan, who are at Pembroke, and then my husband and I, and my 2 cats.
So those are fun years, 9 and 7.
They are.
They really are.
They are.
You've got a lot of good times coming before you. Now, what did you do before you got into writing or publishing this book?
I sort of see myself as like a cat with 9 lives, if you will. So I've been in sales and marketing, but I've always kind of been a closet writer. I wrote poetry growing up. I actually published a poetry book many, many moons ago. And I'm a ski instructor up at Bradford, and I'm a mom. Probably first and foremost, I'm a mom. So.
Okay. Now, so you said you've always been writing.
I have.
About how old were you when you started?
Probably when I was in my early teens. I used writing as sort of a form of teenage therapy, if you will.
The old diary.
Yes, the diary. I wrote poetry. I wanted to be a journalism major when I went to college. And then somebody convinced me that as a journalist I would never succeed in life. So I turned to advertising, and from there went into sales. So, but I've always written.
Okay. Now, so you went to school, you went to college. Where'd you go?
I went to Michigan State University.
Oh, is that where you're originally from?
I am. I'm from northern Michigan. Not the UP. We're trolls. We're just under the bridge. So, but yeah, I was living in Michigan until I was about 25, and then I had some life changes and took a left and ended up in New England.
Well, good for you. Sometimes that's the way to do it, though.
It is. It is.
Because you never know where you're going next.
Yes.
Now, you recently published your first book.
Yes.
What is the story about? It's called The Adventures of Keno and Ernest, the Banana Tree. And what is the story about?
Well, the story is about 2 of the very best friends. Keno is a very mischievous monkey, and Ernest is a very wise elephant, and they live in the jungle together. And Keno manages to get himself into all kinds of trouble. And in this particular case, he finds a banana tree. It happens to be on the wrong side of the river, and his parents have told him never to cross the river. Ernest tells him not to cross the river, but he does anyway and finds himself in trouble, and Ernest has to rescue him. And that's sort of the general gist of the story. So there's a moral to the story, as well as adventure and intrigue and some action.
Now, what age group is this for?
Well, I would say that it's probably from preschool to early elementary. In talking with
my grandchildren's ages.
Yeah. So in the preschool aspect, it would be more of a parent read too. In the elementary, the vocabulary is difficult enough that it could be used as a reading tool. And one of the literacy coaches over at Pearlie had suggested that it could be used all the way up to 4th and 5th grade.
Oh, neat.
But it's a great book, and I mean, my kids still love picture books, and even though they're older and they're cool to read chapter books, but.
Well, I think that's how people started all those years. We read comic books.
Yes.
They're just another version of picture books.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And it tells the story with pictures.
Yes.
And a little bit of vocabulary.
Yeah.
Now, what was your inspiration for these characters?
Well, I have 2 children that are very similar in nature to my characters. But to be honest, my father was a storyteller, and he told me stories growing up all the time, and they were fantastic and would transport me to wherever his location was and wherever he was going. And I kind of got the bug too. And when my first son was born, when Luke was born, I started telling stories, and I made up stories, characters, Kino and Ernest, that would go on adventures. And so it's sort of a two-part inspiration. My father being one who sort of gave me the, I guess, the desire to tell stories, and then my children being born that helped me to actually make them come to fruition.
Now, did you always imagine them looking the way they do on the cover of the book and inside the book?
You know, it's funny. I did. The illustrator that I got is phenomenal, and it's almost as if she sits on my shoulder or in my head. And yeah, so they're very close to how I had envisioned the characters.
Now, how do you go about finding an illustrator?
There's all kinds of ways. You can, the publisher offers illustrations. You can go online and hunt for illustrators. I was really, really fortunate. I told my stories to my kids' classes for years before the book was ever written, even ever written down. I would just go in and storytell, if you will. And my youngest son, Dylan, when he was in kindergarten, I went in and told the story to his class, and his teacher said, "This is fantastic. If you ever decide to get it published, let me know. My college roommate and best friend is an illustrator."
And that's Joanna Lundeen.
And that's Joanna Lundeen. And she's amazing. She's really amazing. I don't know what it's like to work with any other illustrator, but she's fantastic. I haven't had to give much direction or, you know, corrections. She just gets it.
What made you decide to publish now after all the years of telling the stories?
Well, as I said, my father told me stories growing up, and unfortunately he's passed away 20 years ago, and he never wrote down any of his stories, so I don't have that with me. And not that I'm planning to go anywhere anytime soon, but I thought now's the time. Both kids are in school full time. I've got the time. Let's see if we can make it happen. And enough of the teachers had said when I went in that this was a good story and that people might, you know, like it. So if nothing else, I want to leave a legacy for my kids, and it seemed like now was the time to do it. So I did.
Most children can't say things like, "Oh, well, my mother's an author and this is her book." How do you go about publishing? Did you self-publish through the computer, or did you go to a publishing house?
Well, there's a couple different ways. You can go through like a traditional publisher, like a Simon & Schuster or Penguin Books. And I looked at that option. Literally, it can take you a lifetime and you may never get published. And my goal was just to see it in print. I didn't want to take that. You can also self-publish, where you go and actually pick out the paper and, you know, do all that stuff. I went in between to something called on-demand printing. So it's a publisher, Outskirts Press, based out of Colorado, and you go through an approval process and an editing process, and you go through a lot of the same things that you would go through with a traditional publisher, but it's on demand. So if you order the book from Amazon.com, they print it off one at a time and send it then out. So there's not thousands of books in my in my basement waiting
for a storm.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be in my basement actually. So
they can print onesies.
Yes. So you pay a nominal fee to have your book published. But they do all of the work for you. So they do all of the printing. You can choose whether it's hardcover or soft cover. You choose the size, if it's 4-color or black and white or 2-color. Like I said, they have illustrative options that you can use. And there's a number of these different companies out there that do this. I had no idea that it was such an industry, but it is.
I think you're the third author that I've had on that has followed this same process.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a couple of others in town that have.
Well, it's great because as long as your book is, is a decent, good book, it allows you to get published in a reasonable amount of time. It takes about 6 to 9 months to get it published, and probably 3 of those months are Joanna doing the illustrations. Mm-hmm. So versus years of waiting to hear back if you ever will get published.
If you ever.
Yes.
Now, you've been doing this so far as a hobby. Do you plan to continue doing this as a hobby, or would you like to become a professional writer and do more of it?
Well, I would love to be the next J.K. Rowling. I really would. But my first goal was to publish the book, which I've succeeded in. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with that. I love doing, you know, just seeing the kids' faces when I read it, or when, you know, friends send me pictures of their kids running around holding the book and not letting go, or hearing the stories. So if it happens that it becomes a professional gig for me, then I will welcome it. But if it remains more of a hobby, I'm happy with that too.
Have you started writing down more stories about the same characters?
Well, the second book is done, and is due to come out after the new year.
Okay.
And that is called The Diamond Mine. And Kino and Ernest, same characters.
Same characters.
Yes, Kino getting in more and more trouble. And the third story is in my head and working its way out. So
I can understand that part.
Yes.
I have pieces of my artwork that sit there for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they jumble together and a design gets born.
exactly.
Now you're doing some book signings and things now.
I am. It's been great. There's a number of local bookstores that have had me do some book signings. I'm doing a book signing at the Georgetown Public Library next Wednesday on the 24th. And I'm going to all different kinds of schools, which is awesome. That's probably my favorite, because I get to see the kids' reactions. So I'll be at Pembroke next week, and I'm going out to Western Mass actually tomorrow to Chicopee schools.
Oh,
So,
fun.
Yeah.
Now how did they find out about you?
Same, you know, weird world. Friend of a friend's sister is a teacher out in Chicopee, and they you know, have literacy programs that they put on, and part of that is trying to bring in authors, and especially local or, you know, Massachusetts-based authors, that type of thing. So it's just word of mouth at this point.
Now where can people get the books? Where can they buy them?
Well, the books are available online at Amazon.com,
Okay.
BarnesandNoble.com. They're also available, like I said, at local bookstores. So they're available at the Scala Art Center. Lisa actually was kind enough to be the first person to do my book signing. She did my grand opening book signing, which was awesome. So, and they're available in Newburyport at the Book Rack, and at Jabberwocky, and in Andover. And you can go online to my website. I have a list of other bookstores.
And your website is?
www.maggievangalen.com.
Okay. Now, how much fun is it at a book signing that all of a sudden these people are standing in line with their little kids in hand just to see you and meet you and have you sign their books?
It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And the best part is, as much as I love my friends and family that come to buy the book, is when there's strangers standing in front of me that really want my book, and, you know, their kids are sort of awestruck that there's an author sitting there. I did a signing this summer back in Michigan, and it was phenomenal. There were, you know, 20, 30 kids sitting there. I'd read the story and tell the story, and then they all want the book, and it's really amazing. I'm still totally pinching myself.
Oh, I can imagine. How much recognition do you get there?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
you're having a good time at it.
I am. It's a blast, and, you know, I don't want it to not be fun. So I will continue to do it as long as it's fun.
Thank you very much. It's been great having you on. It's been great meeting you.
Nice to meet you too, Beverly.
It's
Thank you
always
so much.
surprising to me how many people in Georgetown have such artistic talents. So it's The Adventures of Kino and Ernest, The Banana Tree. If you'd like to find the book and get hold of her, she'll autograph it for you.
Absolutely.
This is Spotlight Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us today. Bye for now.
Many foods contain a lot more salt than you think. Too much salt can lead to high blood pressure, heart attack, and stroke. Compare labels. Choose less sodium.